Welcome back. Currently, we are learning Python, and this is day 18 of the playlist titled Python Beginner Book. And in this video, we will learn about exception handling in Python. So, let's start understanding exceptions in Python by executing some code. So, here I am having some code. I want to print a variable x, and after that, I want to print a hello world. So when I try to execute this code, you will get an error on the terminal. So let me execute this Python 3, and after that the name of the file, which is exception handling dot py, and let's execute the code. As you can see on screen, we are getting an exception name error, name x is not defined. It says that name x is not defined, which is obvious because in our example, in our code, we are trying to print the value of x without defining it, and hence we got an error. Also, program execution stopped once we got an error. Therefore, we don't see hello world as output. So we are trying to print the variable x without defining it, because of which an exception has occurred and the execution of the program halt at the line number 5, and because of which we are not able to see hello world on screen. Let's try one more example. Suppose I want to divide a number 8 by 0, or any number by 0, then I will get an exception. Let me show it to you on screen. So when I execute the code, you will see an exception 0 division error, division by 0. So it is saying that we are trying to divide a number by 0, which is not possible in any programming language or in mathematics. So in Python, whenever an error occurs or we get an exception, it will stop execution and show an error message. So exceptions can be defined as an event that occurs during the execution of a program that disrupts the normal flow of instructions. So we are trying to execute some code and we are getting some error which halt the execution of our program, and hence the normal flow of instruction is disrupted because the program execution holds at the line where the exception occurred, and the rest of the line will not be executed. So this is how error occurs in Python. Now let's try to handle exception using try catch block. So what I will do is I will use try and except block to catch the exceptions. So first of all, I will write here I want to try executing this line, and if a exception occur or if a error occur, then I want to print something on screen. So division by 0 not possible, and after that I will execute the line which I want to execute, which is hello world. So here let's execute this code and then try to understand what we did here. Let's execute this, and as you can see on the screen, now we are not getting these big exception messages like traceback, the line on which we are getting the error, and the standard error message which is 0 division error, division by 0. Here we are getting the error message which we want to print on the screen, and after that the normal flow of program doesn't stop, and the next line, which is on the line number 9, is executed and it printed hello world on screen. So this is how we handle exception in Python. So what we did here is we moved the code which will give us an exception into the try block. So here we are trying to divide a number 8 by 0. So we moved this code inside the try block. So if a exception occur, we will use the except keyword and write the code to handle this exception. and once the except block is completed the execution, we will write the code which we wanted to execute after line number 6. So this is how you uh, catch exceptions in Python. Suppose you are having multiple exception, then how you will handle that. So previously we have seen, if we go on the top here, we are getting one exception, name error, and then I am getting zero division error. So we can have multiple exceptions also. For that we have to write the name of specific exceptions. So name, this is zero division error. Let me add one more except name error. Then I will print some message here. Print division variable not defined, variable x not defined. And now if I execute the code, whatever exception it matches, it will execute this code. So here we are trying to divide the number by 0, so it will match this exception, zero division error. So it will execute the code on line number 8, and after that it will directly jump to line number 11 and execute the code hello world, and the normal flow of execution doesn't break. Let me execute this, and as you can see on screen, division by 0 not possible, this line is printed, and after that hello world is printed. So suppose if I change here something, suppose in this try block I am trying to print the variable x and save the code and execute my code, then we will go to like we are getting exception in the line number 6, and here it will say that the variable is not defined. So it will go to this exception, name error, and it will print variable x is not defined, and after that it will come out of the except block and print hello world. Let me execute this. As you can see on the screen, variable x is not defined, it is printed on the screen. After that hello world is printed on the screen. Okay. Now let's learn about one more uh, keyword, which is else. So suppose here, if exception doesn't occur, then we want to execute some code, then we can do it using the else block. So we can use the else keyword. Print here, I want to print some code will execute if exception doesn't occur. And first of all, let's try to execute this code. After that we will remove the exception and then try to run the code. So I will execute this code, and you will see same uh, output will be visible on your terminal. Variable x is not defined and hello world. Now suppose I corrected the issues. I defined the variable x equals to 10, and now will, like here on line number 6 I have defined the variable x equals to 10. On line number 7 I am trying to print the x, so it will be able to find this x variable definition, so it will print x, and it will not get any exception here because we haven't divide any number by 0 in our code, and also the variable x is will be found out, so this line will also not print. So these two condition doesn't match, so it will go to the else part, and it will print some code will execute if exception doesn't occur, and then it will print hello world. Let me execute code and show it to you. So here you can see 10 is printed, which we wanted to print. After that the exception doesn't occur, so we go to the else part, and this line is printed, and after that hello world is printed. Now let's learn one more thing, which is the finally keyword. So I will add one more code here, which is finally, and let's write here something, this will always execute. So now suppose if I again generate this error and save the code, so what finally block does is, if a exception occur, then it will go, will try to run this code. Exception occur, then it will go to the matching except block and will execute the code under that. After it will come out of the except block and it will go to the finally block and will print the code, and after that it will continue the normal execution. So if I try to execute this code, you will see mx is not defined, which is here we have created. After that it doesn't print at else block because the exception is found, and finally block is printed, which is here. This will always execute is printed, and after that hello world. So finally block will execute if an exception occur or doesn't occur. It doesn't depend on anything, it will always occur, it will always execute. So if I create a variable x equals to 10, and as you can see in this code there will be no exception, so it will print the value 10. After that it will go to the else part and print this line, and after that it will also go to the finally part, because finally always executes if exception occur or doesn't occur. And after that it will go to the line number 16, which is hello world. Let's execute this code, and as you can see on the screen, first of all the variable x, which is 10, is printed. After that some code will execute if exception doesn't occur. As we already know exception doesn't occur, that's why it goes to the else part and printed this line. After that we know that finally block will always execute, so it is executing the lines defined under the finally block, which is this will always execute, so it is printed here. And after that it will come out of the finally and continue the normal execution. So print hello world, it is trying to print hello world on the screen. So we have learned about exception handling in Python. So what is exception handling in Python? So it is a crucial aspect of programming that allows us to handle and respond to errors and exceptional situation in a controlled manner. Python provides a robust mechanism for handling exception, ensuring that our code can gracefully handle unexpected scenarios. So that's what we learn. And first of all, we learn about the try block. In the try block, we write the code which will give us an exception, and then we write the except block where we catch the exception. And after that, we wrote the learn about else block, which will execute if exception doesn't occur in our code. And then we learn about the finally block, which will always execute. Now let's learn about one more thing, which is raising exception. We can raise exception explicitly using the raise statement. This allows us to create custom exception or propagate existing ones. So suppose let me write some code here. Suppose we are having a variable age which is having the value -1, and if so I will do one thing. I will try, and I will try to raise a custom exception. So if age is less than 0, so we already know that age cannot can't be negative. So some user if give age as negative, then we want to tell the user that this is not the correct input. So if age is less than 0, then we will raise a exception which is value error, and we will raise a message age can't be negative, and then we will go to the except block, and here except we will write value error as error, and here we will print the str of error. So let's execute this code and you will understand what we are doing. As you can see on screen, age can't be negative is printed. So here we are trying to raise custom exception. So if I doesn't write this value error as error and only try print value error, then the message will be different. I show it to you, value error, and let's this code again. As you can see, now we are getting the name of the class. So in order to print the exact error message, we have to use value error as error, and here we have to pass error. Let's save it and execute this. As you can see, age can't be negative is printed on the screen. This is how you raise custom exception, there can be a situation where we want to uh, give some custom error messages to the user. Then we can use the raise keyword. After that, we can use the name of the error which we want to create, and under that we can pass the messages, and we can use the except statement to catch those errors and continue with the normal flow of our code. So this is it in the video titled exception handling. I hope you are able to understand about exception handling in Python. So please like the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and share with your friends on social media. Thank you very much.